Hello everyone, welcome to the late game, episode 33. My name is Lycan, 43 actually. My name is Lycan, with me on my co-host Destiny and In Control. No intro today. I actually moved a few files on my desktop and it looks like I moved the intro file, so I'll play that for you guys next week. And I'm also
Excellent.
going, right? Total, it wouldn't be the late game if it wasn't a shit show, right, Jeff?
Yeah. Should we check to see if you're on Team Liquid? You didn't tweet out the link.
I didn't tweet out the link, but I did submit Team Liquid.
So have you been sick? What's been going on? You have like leukemia? What the fuck?
No, I went over to do Gfinity, and I started to like catch some sort of crud. So I started pounding these little, whatever you call them, the little vitamin C emergency shits, and it held things off. I was feeling decent, and then I stopped taking them after we wrapped up on Sunday, and it's just kind of like, okay, I didn't leave. I was just waiting for you to stop eating that shit, and so now I'm getting the sore throat. But either way, Jeff, you just got back from DreamHack Stockholm. How was that?
It was good. It was I think a really good StarCraft event. Following up on WCS Season 3, which I think is one of the best we've ever had. It was nice. The games were good. ZVZ Finals, which is meh, but the storylines were cool. It was just a good event overall.
Cool.
Can we for a quick thing? Like, I didn't actually think about this until like a question was brought up earlier.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, dude! If Blizzard hadn't started the WCS stuff, like the WCS stuff has been really good for the StarCraft 2 scene. Like, it's kind of hard to imagine where the scene would be at the moment if they hadn't actually gone forward with that stuff.
It's interesting. I definitely agree with you now. I think WCS is really good now, but I think the actual first year and a half of WCS was I would go as far as to say bad for the StarCraft scene. I think it actually really hurt.
Do you think it is the insinuation that like MLG dropped StarCraft because of the stringent requirements of WCS?
NESL.
I don't know how much.
MLG.
I don't necessarily know how much I'd buy that. Back then, I would have agreed 100%, just because I like to shit on Blizzard and I'll be biased as fuck about it, and I'll admit it. But back then I might have agreed. But seeing how much like MLG kind of botches so many different things, I don't necessarily know if I agree with that anymore. Because MLG has a whole bunch of incompetency problems on their own. Maybe MLG or maybe WCS was the tipping point. I don't necessarily know. And in insofar as NASL 2, like they also couldn't manage to keep their World of Tanks sponsorship as well. Was that the fault of the World of Tanks company as well? Like I'm not sure. I don't
know. Not to pull this card because I think it's really bullshit when people do this, but I guess in this format I can't go into too much detail or drop names. But knowing and talking to the people behind the scenes, I can tell you that it was a big part of it. Certainly,
it might have been, but and again,
MLG has incompetence issues is not. You're not going to get an argument out of me. Like, yeah, of course.
Yeah, sure. And again, like you know way more people than I do, but I do know a fair bit. Like I talked to that Adam guy a fair bit, both Adams, Adam Corella, and then the Adam guy that does a lot of the managing for the fucking MLG events and whatnot. Like, and even
well,
a little
not Adam
bit
Corella. I think you mean Contini, who works for Twitch, and Apicella. Yeah, right.
Yeah, whatever. All the too many fucking Adams. But like, I initially I had heard things as well. There's like 4 fucking Adams at one point involved in esports. But then they move around too, which makes it all more confusing. But yeah, I had heard a lot of that initially at one point in time, but then I hear so many other different things from other people, and then I see that they had botched like other things up as well. Like, yeah. I don't know, it makes it's initially, like I said, like a few years ago I would have agreed, or whenever the first WCS season was, but now I'm not sure how much was because like Blizzard fucked it up and the WCS requirements were so stringent versus because ESL or whatever is handling it really well, right? They didn't have the same issues that
didn't have it back then.
Well, yeah, I guess, but I mean they have it now, no? Like
correct, and that's what I said. I said back then it was really bad, and now it's really good.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, let's use that as a nice segue. Storm Gaming just signed True, former Dead Pixels. I'm gonna change the title. All right, so Storm signs True. Now I want to get this part out of the way. I like Storm Gaming. It's a nice organization. They're in North America. I know the guys. They're very friendly. They're very good to the community. I like the organization.
Who are they? Do they have like a heroes team or something?
No. They're a team that's been very small. StarCraft. They've signed a few of the semi-pros. Arium's now on Storm. They've been slowly growing, and they just signed True. That's a big pickup. Former GSL, not too long ago. GSL, nonetheless. In 2014, he was Code S. And he makes pretty consistent top 16 performances or higher at the events like DreamHack and things like that. So he's a good player. He's a big player. I didn't like the community was shitting on Psystorm. Like the top 2 comments, they didn't even get buried. They were upvoted to the top. The top 2 comments were, "Well, that's disappointing," and something about like, really? It's lame. Basically saying, it's a downgrade for him. And I don't like it. I mean, if you look at
they're kind of shitty comments, but I kind of understand with all the there was just recently a team that dropped fuck, we might be talking about the same thing. I saw this on the fucking StarCraft subreddit. Who was the there was a team that had like 2 good Korean pros and one of them just recently left.
Well, I mean, you might be talking about Dead Pixels, right?
Yeah. It seems like there's like an issue with like teams like that. Every time I just notice it when I go to the subreddit, there's like a weird no-name team will come by, like pick up 1 to 2 Koreans. It happened with MC's team too as well, right?
Yeah, he was on some weird. It's happened a lot, to be honest.
Yeah. Where like a weird team shows up, kind of picks up somebody, and then the team just kind of like fades into
right.
Like,
So
when people are saying like I'm disappointed, it might there might be some of that psychology. Just as someone that casually watches the subreddit, like I could see somebody saying like, oh wow, another random fucking team's gonna pick them up, and then in 3 months they'll go into non-existence.
Yeah, apparently something I saw a lot in the thread, and someone's repeating it in chat, is that they were expecting him in Pro League. So apparently a lot of people are disappointed that he isn't going to be competing in Pro League.
Sure.
Now, that all aside, because that's not what because I was kind of defending Psystorm, saying it's really shitty that people are, giving Psystorm shit for picking this guy up or giving, the situation shit. One thing I don't like is that Psystorm has a bunch of North American players, and he has a bunch of people that are going to be competing in WCS, and we see what Hydra, Polt, and 4GG have become in the WCS circuit, which is it's a big wall that you have to overcome. Can people do it? Yes, we just saw that at WCS. Both Polt, Lilbo, and 4GG were people made it past them to get into the finals, to get further in their brackets. But regardless, it's a Korean coming, and they are very skilled, and they do very well. And we see the positive effect that it has for these foreigners to be able to go forward, to be able to get long runs and things like that. So I guess, Jeff, first I'd like to ask you, do you see, as a team owner, seeing the good that it is for foreigners to perform the way they do, knowing that this player is now going to be a very difficult person for not only his own teammates, but just the foreign scene in general to get through, is this a move you would have made as a team owner? Because obviously it gives them a lot of benefit signing a player like this.
Well, in relation to WCS, is he moving to America? Because if not, it doesn't matter.
From the sound of everything that was released in the statements, he is going to be performing in WCS, not GSL.
Okay, so that's a pretty big leap. If they're able to get him a visa, move him to the United States in time for season 1 of next year, in that case, then yeah, it's just that's the system right now. And I don't know, I don't really view it in terms of like what's good for foreigners, what's not. Like they're going to talk about policy change as well for WCS in this off season, so I would not be making too many big moves either. Yeah, I don't know. We have to have a dog bark at some point in this episode. So actually, to be honest with you, I would recommend even shelving this subject because it's in relation to True. It's like it might actually not even happen. They're going to change. They're talking about a hard region lock where there's like no Koreans in actually some of these WCS regions next year, but maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe it's the exact same way it is now.
Right, and the owner commented on that. He said if it happens that WCS becomes hard region locked, he's still a strong player, and they'll be happy to still sponsor him, keep him on the team if he goes to GSL.
So I think for me, the topic of discussion on this. By the way, Barrison, shut the fuck up. What? He's just like running around barking. Anyways. I think it's less Psystorm Gaming getting shit, and it's more, this has happened so many damn times, like Steven was talking about. Like, there's just been so many kind of smaller teams signing a big-ish, True's not like the biggest, but a big-ish named Korean player, and they give them a couple of paychecks, and then eventually they find out the return on investment in StarCraft 2 specifically for a player like that is very, very meager. You're spending money traveling them. Koreans don't give great interviews. If they're not winning the tournament versus the other 10 Koreans, you're not really getting exposure either. And then what is that exposure in StarCraft 2? The viewership is lower than other events. So, if your sponsors are okay with that, if they're StarCraft 2 oriented, great. But if your Koreans not winning tournaments and crushing it and streaming to 1,500 people at least, then what are you paying them? And oftentimes you're paying them very little. So it's a very kind of depressing subject for Korean players going to foreign teams in particular. So what ends up happening a lot of those times is a team like Storm Gaming. I'm not going to say them because I don't know them. Maybe they're amazing. Maybe they sponsor players for 10 years at a time. That'd be great. Is eventually they go, oh well, shit, we can't do this, and then the guy just kind of, usually the owner just kind of disappears. That's the standard one. The stand-up guys kind of announce, sorry guys, we're done. And then they show up like 6 months later because they get the bug in their butt again to try and do it. But so many times these players just have the carpet pulled out from underneath them, and it's just a really shitty situation.
Right. Yeah. So I think that kind of, it's a little away from what I was getting at, but that's because I asked a really long fucking question. Real quick to make a comment about the Psystorm guys though, they're very, I won't say prevalent, but they're very out there in the community kind of organization. They've been around.
Well, like how many other do they have other big teams?
Big teams? No, I don't think.
Do they have any other players in any games anywhere?
Yeah, give me a second. Just let me look them up. In other games,
REM, like you said, they signed REM.
Yeah, so this isn't that. I can't. It's not Trig. It's some other name, but it was that company that I naively was like, oh yeah, no, they're gonna totally be legit guys. Come on, stop being douches. And they ended up being fucking shit. That was someone that Matalisk went to consult for. They have True, Intense, Ender, Arium. I mean, so a couple, North American dudes, and then and now True. But No Regret used to be on the team. Doesn't list him as on the roster anymore. So They weren't like a big team. They weren't, but they're pretty legit. The guy who owns the team is just I assume he was a big fan of StarCraft, but he's always been very prevalent. He's not like the kind of guy that's sitting in the back, and he's also very well off. So I assume that the funding, it's kind of like he's doing it out of his pocket. But regardless, back to where I was going with that, what I meant more is him introducing another Korean to the WCS ecosystem.
Yeah, but I addressed that. I told you that that's a long shot that it's hard for us to even treat as a real subject.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying.
He needs to be a citizen of the United States before he can actually, or not he has to have a visa, excuse me, to even be part of the WCS, and that takes months at a time, and we just finished Season 3. So, like I said, it's an extreme hypothetical that come, not even January, it's like February or March or whatever of next year.
Right.
If he has citizenship on a visa level,
okay,
then yes, he could be a part of the WCS if they also don't hard lock the regions in this off season that they're discussing possibly doing. So it's like 4 layers of like if that happens.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. Nope, I get what you're saying with that. All right, let's move on to the next topic then. All right, so first of all, DreamHack Stockholm. Jeff, why don't you walk us through the event? Tell us how things were in the back end and the front end, and just some of the exciting games and how they all played out to the end.
Well, yeah. So one thing, since we have a kind of intimate show today, I'll just go ahead and address one of the people in the chat, Aggression. He was talking about I gave a PC answer and how the audience was very small, which was weird because actually the audience was quite large. He has a picture in there of it being very small at one stage or another. But actually, it was a pretty full arena. I'm not going to say it was like standing room only and there's thousands upon thousands of people in there, but actually I mean, they streamed it, bud. They showed the audience a bunch. You can check it out for yourself. But it was actually a really nice audience. Sweden used to be, in my opinion, the best audience you could ask for. But unfortunately for them, they've been outshined by Canadians and Polish. But they're up there. They're top 3. They really enthusiastic and fun. I was an interviewer and stage host, which is kind of a throwback. In the past, I've done that, but I haven't been that lately. So I was a little bit nervous because interviewing Koreans is actually ranked the #1 deadliest job on planet Earth. It's actually fucking impossible to get an interesting answer out of Koreans, but for whatever reason, I just kind of went into it not giving a fuck because I was just like, well, let's just do this. And it ended up being pretty okay on my part, I felt. I love working with those guys. The commentary was fun. Production level was really good, I thought, actually. We had one of the least awkward award ceremonies in esports, which still means it was crippling awkward and very cringeworthy, but upwards of the least, I would say. Got lucky with the games, good storylines. The fact that, who is it? It's Fantasy and Hyun are going to have to play a tiebreaker match to go into BlizzCon is really cool and exciting. So I like that. And it was okay. I think what's kind of interesting for me, and it's actually kind of a sobering and sad thing, not to be too depressing in the show, because I know I just got done talking about how low-level teams have a really tough time staying alive in StarCraft 2. But I thought the show was really good. The player names were huge, and yet we still only had about 40,000 viewers peaking for the event. And I think in this day and age, StarCraft should be around 50 or 60 for a big event, which is still nowhere near the 100 we used to get, you know. But 35, 40 for a DreamHack, it's up from what it has been in the past. But I think that's a little bit. It was kind of a shame, and I think it's a little bit indicative of where the game's at right now. Like HOTS is winding down. This wasn't a big WCS event. Like there's very small chances for a couple of guys to make it kind of into BlizzCon, you know. And like everything's just kind of ramping down. But I don't know. It's not that I want to start a conversation on Dead Game, obviously, but just like it was a little bit sobering that it was. I thought the event was better than the viewership, is I guess what I would say. And otherwise, the event was great, and we were all really thrilled.
Okay. We won't really go into the dead game part. I don't think there's a reason to. I like to think that it's just going to be the downswing of the end of Heart of the Swarm kind of thing going on.
It's always in a weird spot when Legacy of the Void's trying to kind of ramp up with the super long beta. WCS has kind of winded down. Like Season 3 was supposed to be the climax, but then everyone's like, but wait, kind of, sort of DreamHack. And it's like, you can't really, you can't do that in entertainment where you're like, you inherently are just like kind of sorta, like people will be like, all right, well, kind of sorta then. So I know the reasons for it, and it's not probably shouldn't even say anything, but I do think it's worth mentioning that for how good the show was, the viewership was 10,000-15,000 off the mark, I feel. But good event, and we're in this weird period of time now where basically October has nothing, and then November is BlizzCon, which is cool. I think there should be more of that. If anything, StarCraft's had too many events, and that's part of the reason why events don't have as big a viewership. Is because it's like, well, fuck, I'll just wait till next weekend and there's another big show. Actually, the way it's been lately is there's like 2 or 3 big shows every weekend.
I actually have a question for you. Just it's kind of not totally related, but just regarding hype in general of the game. One thing I've been while I guess trying to improve as a host, I've been watching a lot of sports discussions and whatnot. I've never been a big guy into sports, and one thing I notice is that when people commentate a game, like say football or something like that, there are certain moments where hype happens and it's like extremely exciting and whatnot, but it doesn't happen all the time and it's very rare. But then you watch a StarCraft game or you watch a StarCraft tournament and there are a lot of moments where it's like every fucking thing that's cool that happens is talked about as if it's like, that's the, move to get you to BlizzCon kind of thing. So I'm curious if you think that in general, casters and esports overhype a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is a great topic that's very interesting. I'd love to hear Steven's thoughts on it too in a second. But like, to take it even a step further, I can't remember to give it an exact name, but there's been a couple prevalent people. I want to say like Kennegat from ESL, a couple guys. I know that certainly Alex Garfield and Colin from Good Game too. They feel this way, but it's become a thing in gaming where like when you do commentary, you actually never stop talking too for the entire broadcast. But if you watch sports, sometimes they actually just shut up and like the play happens and then they'll say a couple things here and there, and then once the play concludes, they start talking. So it's like different flavors, and then there are other guys that talk the entire time.
Assuming it's TV and not radio, to be
TV, well, of course, exactly.
Yeah, sure.
Well, even actually on radio, they'll do the you can hear the like, like the whistle and the play.
Sure, sometimes. I think that when the guy on the radio is getting the call or whatever, radio at uptime, exactly. Sure. Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting because I don't disagree with you, and so that's we'll hear about that a little bit in a second. But to be honest with you, yes, in fact, I've been trying to buck the standard of like introducing the players every single map. I think that's the stupidest fucking. It's a weird thing that everyone gets really nervous about if you don't do it. Like the producer in your ear will start yelling at you if you just like start talking about the game.
Still the dead time. Yeah.
Introduce the players. Introduce the players, and it's like, guys, it's game 4 of a best of 7, like
of like 2 players that have been playing for 4 years. Yeah.
And if they're just tuning in there, they can see their names on the overlay. Like it's not like these people are stranded if you don't say that. Anyways, I'm not going to spend too much time. But to your point, I agree fully. And I think it's something worth exploring because I really like the idea of like, there's a couple of guys who are just fucking hype and they yell the whole time. And there's a couple of broadcasts where it's a little bit more meandering and talking and just kind of commentary over the action. Yeah.
All right, Steven, your thoughts?
I mean, I think Jess said pretty much everything I could possibly say. It's really funny that you bring this up because there's actually even there was a little meme on Reddit like I want to say a few weeks ago where like the front page was like complaining about how some sportscasters like never shut the fuck up. It was like the guy on the left is about to tell you what happened 5 seconds ago. The guy in the middle is about to give you some useless stat that's not really relevant, and then the guy on the right is about to tell you what he thinks is going to happen every 5 seconds. Like that was like the meme or whatever. And I mean, we kind of do the same thing here. I guess at this point, it's become like such an expectation that if you turn into a game and they're not constantly talking, like you as a viewer, I think have been conditioned to think like either like, well, fuck, these guys either aren't very good or this isn't hype. Like he's not saying anything. Like this is so weird. And then as a caster, like even like as people like in normal like social interactions, like silence can be really uncomfortable if you're not like ready for it. So like as casters, you're sitting there and nothing's happening, and then it's one of those scenarios even where it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You ever have people standing around and like someone's like, well, this is awkward, and it wasn't really awkward until they fucking said that. It happens in cast too. Yeah, it happens in cast too, where it's like, so anyway, like, well, not so anyway. Like we're watching two people, like it's the opener of a fucking like PVT, like we fuck, like just chill the fuck out. Like obviously nothing is gonna happen for like 5 minutes.
That's why
like, it's okay if nobody's talking. Like
I really like Tasteless and Artosis.
Yeah,
when
and
they
again,
cast.
For any of the reasons, like you can shit on them for whatever you want to make fun of them for. Sure. They always had some of the best synergy, and I can't think of any time. And that was even back when I would watch an OK amount of StarCraft. I can't think of any time where I was ever watching like a Tastosis cast, and then they were like, "Yeah, anyway," like there were times where they just didn't talk. Like at the end of a story, they just wouldn't say anything, and the game would be starting, and then Artosis would come in and be like, so yeah, we can see that the Protoss is open with this way, and then they would just go on, and I thought that always felt super organic and super natural, and I had no problem like listening to stuff like that.
If you guys, I don't know if either of you had a chance to, but did you check out Red Eye's book that he released about broadcasting?
No.
So one thing he talks about is using dead air to your using dead air. So it's not just there's silence because things happen. It's you purposely don't talk, whether it's to build drama or just to allow the moment to play out kind of thing. But when I started reading his book, I kept thinking about Tasteless and Artosis because when you watch them, a lot of people don't like, or not a lot of people, but there are a vocal group that like to complain about them talking about random other things or just, not talking constantly.
I think they're so far in the minority that I don't even think it's worth. As someone that's like vocally probably shitting on both of them, like I think that they were probably the best casters.
Well, that's exactly it.
And I think most people would agree with that. Would say that Tastosis was like part of the epitome of StarCraft 2 casting was that combination of people. I think most people would agree with that like pretty easily. Yeah. I think.
Yeah, and when you listen to them, like there was a lot of professionalism to that duo. Aside from their synergy, just they are professional broadcasters, and I think there are a lot of StarCraft commentators and commentators just in esports in general that we like that hype, we like that excitement. Like you were saying, Jeff, it's become an expectation. So now people always feel the need, like, oh my God, something's happening. I have to make sure I say this in the most excited fucking way. So
well, I think a big part of it is confidence, and then like you said, the word synergy, which I really like here, and that's why Tastosis does it so well. It's not like, I mean, they're very professional, so I'm sure they did discuss this behind the scenes, but it's just they're so comfortable that when there is silence, it's not like they're like, oh God, I have nothing to say, or or I don't know how to relate to this person, or what do I say next? It's just like, it is what it is, and they're totally fine with it, and it does actually give a cool vibe to the broadcast. I like the idea of building tension. I think that's very true, and I also think it connects the people to that broadcast too, where they're like, oh, these guys are best friends. This is not awkward at all. It's very natural. And that's such a fun, enjoyable experience. So it's like, it's kind of funny to talk about this because I don't think commentators have to force this, but they're like, okay, I listened to the late game and I read Red Eye's book. So, here I am casting with Rotterdam. My name's Nathanius. And then they're like,
and then they don't say anything for like the first 10 minutes.
This is going to be a great match. And then they just sit there and it's like, and everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, you don't have to force it, but I think it's just worth mentioning that it should be a possibility, and I think it's something kind of cool that people should at least be conscientious of. And when I say people, I mean casters. Like, again, you don't plan silences, but if it happens, either of you panic.
And even people too should be conscientious of it. Yeah, like it's okay if people aren't talking like constantly. Like you don't have to do the thing like, oh, they're not saying anything. Oh, it's so awkward. Like, no, it's okay. Like,
yeah,
cool.
I agree.
All right. Well, any final thoughts on that before we move on?
How did we even start talking about this?
Oh, it was just something that I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's ask you about Gfinity,
Yeah,
man. You're
let's talk about
hosting it.
Gfinity,
Good job.
dog. How'd
Your
that
big
go?
break. And this is your chance, by the way. Like, and don't think you're going to get off lightly here. Okay, this is your show. We need these tank viewership. You had tweeted the more you get into the back end, which I don't think was an anal reference. I think
No.
it was actually behind the scenes. You were saying the more you learn about shit esports, so you don't need to name names. Obviously, if you don't need to go full drama here, but
Unless you want viewers.
talk about the event and talk to us about what do you mean? What are you getting at
All
there,
right.
bud?
Well, so we'll talk a couple things. Let's talk event real quick because that'll be relatively
Yeah.
quick. We only had 8 players, but it was really exciting. Patience, Ionic, Marine Lord, Ret, Myungshik, Euthermal, Lilbo, Keen, right? And that's also in the order of they played. So Psionic was like a last minute thing, right? Bly couldn't make it, some visa issues, so Psionic comes and fucking 2-0s Patience, right? And it was absolutely incredible. I hate PvP 9 times out of 10, but these games were amazing, and he 2-0s him. Just a lot of ballsy plays too. He played a little bit cheesy, but not terribly. It was really fun to watch, and Patience just couldn't handle it. So
Yeah.
he moves on. Marine Lord Ret, I love Ret, but Ret just kind of got walked on. Made a little bit of some tactical errors, overdroned a lot in the second game. So Marine Lord moves forward. Myungshik Euthermal, I think Euthermal came in with a very doesn't really care kind of attitude. First game, he did an in-base barracks rush for against Myungshik. It was on Terraform, first map. Fucking incredible. Really exciting moment. But he ended up losing 2-1. He actually could have taken the second game. Yeah, it was a little bit of a micro error. And then Lilbo Keen, that was like the big fucking upset, right? Because Lilbo threw game number 2. Absolutely threw it. Keen was down to like 20 workers versus Lilbo's 40. He was on one base, and Lilbo didn't press the issue enough, and he allowed Keen to somehow... Oh, and one thing we had talked about on the analysis desk was that, I said I think Lilbo gets pulled apart, he's gonna have some trouble with some multitasking, and that's what fucking got him. Like, Keen was able to use his little bit of army to kind of keep Lilbo on the back foot and get up to his own 3-base economy. So that was an upset. It kind of sucked, but anyway, at the end of the day, Psionic couldn't stand up to Marine Lord, and then Myungshik lost to Keen. So it was Marine Lord Keen finals. Marine Lord played well. It was a TVT, so you know how exciting and volatile that can be, right? And it was a good series. There was a lot of back and forth in each game, so it wasn't like so heavily Keen one-sided. But the one thing I regret is I forgot that Keen is the guy who, you guys can't see me, but the viewers can, that gif of clapping after winning. I had no idea that was Keen. Yeah, so I would have done that when like the camera came back to me if I had known. But it was really exciting. Keen had said in the video, they did a little bit of some B-roll, and he had said, this is my first chance at a championship, or I haven't won anything before, and he did. So I felt really good for him. As far as hosting, that was really exciting. It was my first time hosting. When I got the WCS gig, I didn't want to be a caster. Like, I want to eventually one day be a caster, but I know that I'm not a good caster at the moment. But they offered it to me, and I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do, right? I wish I hadn't taken it, because there was another organization I was trying to get a gig with, and after they saw that, the gig for them was to host. And I think that I did a really good job hosting, but the gig for them was hosting, but because they saw the WCS thing, they were like, you're not good on a camera, so you're not ready for this yet. So I was kind of bummed about that. I wish I hadn't taken the WCS thing after that. But I really liked hosting. Do I have improvements to make? Absolutely, but I think I did a pretty good job. And hosting CSGO was a lot of fun. So that's the event. Let's talk about the other stuff. So I feel that as I've spent more time hanging with you guys and getting into esports,
God, it's us, Destiny.
Fuck.
No. I've become more
jaded.
No, not jaded, just realistic, right? Like,
Sure.
The sunshine and butterflies have kind of, a few clouds and a couple of fucking bats have flown in and eaten the butterflies. So I'm just more open to the shitty side of things. And so you hang around Richard Lewis and you learn a lot of shitty things. And
to be fair, he overplays it little bit, I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe more than a little bit, depending on who you ask, but sure.
Well, so
He would disagree with you, but yeah.
Yeah.
let's go with like a light, and I always take what everyone says with a grain of salt. And so one of the more outright things is I don't know if the story is well known, so I don't know if I can like say what it is.
It's
but
well known. Everybody knows it. Just go ahead and.
he was talking about Riot, and he was talking about Riot's partnership with something, and I don't know if that's been publicly announced.
Oh,
So,
it has. Go ahead.
do you know what it is?
Did you sign an NDA?
No, but I respect
fucking-
Richard.
Just
So-
play it safe. Just
okay,
let
never
me
mind.
get the details.
Yeah,
Just
go,
talk
yeah,
about it.
go ahead. So,
He talks about a partnership that Riot had been blocking from players and whatnot, and we're talking like a partnership that is extremely fucking lucrative, and Riot had been blocking it for a long time contractually, and then all of a sudden Riot's like, actually, we're going to partner with them, and every team is going to have to wear their logo and be a part of it.
okay.
And so, like, that's just a morally reprehensible thing in my eyes. And that's like from a corporate standpoint, the kind of things that I'm just like, people in esports really fucking suck sometimes. And then there was some more personal, like, yeah, I get business is business, but when
Not just so much business is business, but the LCS does, like, Riot hate aside, the LCS does some really good things. So, and there are going to be drawbacks, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you get a salary from, that teams that play in the LCS are salaried by
Yeah.
Riot, right? Even if they don't win anything, a single game, they're still salaried just to play in the series, which is I think that's actually an unprecedented. I don't think any
Oh,
other
yeah.
Esports for sure, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anything else in esports. So I mean, there are some definite pros being an LCS, and with those will come some drawbacks, like the fact that they can, manhandle you on sponsorships, and they've got leverage to negotiate a lot of shit because of that. So, but yeah, I understand it feels dirty, sure.
Yeah, so I mean, and I get the business side of things and why people would, yeah, they do that, and this is going to benefit the players. And at the same time, though, it's just kind of like everyone's a hypocrite, so you can't really hate people for being hypocrites. But it's something that's
not necessarily true. But okay,
it's something that's I'm just using that as an example, I guess, of hearing about the seedier side of the back end deals, right? And that's going to be made public, and everyone's going to know about that. But then you hear about certain people that have screwed over other people in the industry. Again, something that we very often hear about in public, but it's just more like everyone that I've worked with, I always go into, like, I made a comment to you, Jeff, a couple weeks ago on an episode. I said something like, so-and-so's a really nice guy. Like, I met him in person. He was really fucking swell. And you were like, what the fuck do you expect? Is he going to be a douche to you, right off the bat? Like, hey, fuck you. No, he's not going to do that. And that's kind of how I've approached everyone, though, is that, oh, you're so-and-so, I admire you, or I respect you, or I like you and the work you do. And it's kind of like, yeah, you're fucking cool. But then you see the side that they don't show, that kind of thing. So
I think the best approach is that you treat it you treat all business relationships or people that you meet publicly, you treat them like first dates, right? On a first date, you don't actually meet the girl, you meet their representative, right? Same thing with them and you, right? You're not actually like getting to know the other person, really, right? You're meeting like their representative. They're on their best behavior to elicit whatever the most positive response. I'm not saying that to be like super cynical, but I'm just saying that like it's a little bit of a tangent, right? But you hear like people will date each other and they don't actually know. Like I don't like. It's hard to consider a relationship for me personally. It's hard to consider a relationship that you've actually lived together, right? Because that's when you actually know. Like, can you actually handle being together? Like, have you lived together? Because if you haven't, like, there's a ton of shit that you learn about a person, and even just friends. You learn a ton of shit about friends when you live with them. But until you've gotten to that point, it's hard to say, And business relationships, I think, are very much the same. It's very, very easy for anybody to step into a room and sound very confident and to sound very nice, like they're going to be on your side and all that shit. And and I've even had personal relationships like that with personal friends where it seems like everything is cool, and then as soon as the chips start to fall or something happens, it's like, okay, well, you're fucked. Like, I need to do this. I have to look out for number one. And it's like, oh, okay, So that's something I feel like you always have to be wary of, just in my own personal experience.
It's especially true in esports too, and I'm sure there's other fields, but just this is what we know. But it's like, it's still the Wild West in esports, where you are a drink and a conversation away from a life-changing opportunity, potentially, and that's obviously a very light way of describing how just open and free everything is. So in that kind of climate where so much of your potential success or happiness is based on who you know and who you're talking to, there's just naturally going to be a lot of that catty relationship stuff that then intermingles with business, which is fucking money and future and life. And that's just like a weird witch's brew of potential explosion, basically. So there's some people that go about that very like, well, I'm secure, confident, and happy, and I'm going to do this normally and organically. And then there's a lot of people that go through this like, actually,
Very,
if I
very
can
much
fuck,
the
if I
opposite.
can, yeah, if I can step on that guy's shoulders and get this person out of the way, then all of a sudden I'm the host, I'm the caster, and look at me, I'm the captain now. I don't know. I'm probably the biggest fan of that meme. I can't even imagine a funnier thing ever said.
Oh, I'm the captain now.
Yeah.
The GIF, or not the GIF, the
No,
picture
I
of
know
that
exactly
weird
what you're talking about. No,
autistic look he's making. He's like,
yeah.
look at me.
Uh,
But yeah, it's interesting. Like, and actually watch you experience this kind of. To be honest, like Steven's been full-time streaming for a long time. I've been in gaming a very long time. So we've all been at this stage. But even it's actually, I would say, more different now because I think more people realistically look at gaming than ever before and say, I could do that for a living. This is a profession. Like back when I started the Old Boys Club and the Illuminati, like that was so hard to do. I'm joking, but back then it was like almost none of us looked at this as like, okay, well, I'm going to work at this other job, and when I go home, I'm going to put on my nerd cape and like I'm going to talk about gaming. I'm going to play games, and if I make money, oh my god, like this guy wants to pay me $200 this month to do this thing. And it's like, Jesus Christ, what an idiot! This is gonna be great. Whereas now, a lot of people are like, actually, that looks fucking amazing. I love games, and Twitch is doing really well. I'm going to give it a shot. So there's just more and more people looking at it that way as opposed to the other ways. So there's the point I'm trying to make is there's so many people that are looking to get something out of something as opposed to they're just doing it because they love it, which is interesting.
Not to mention that the cynicism, not even as extreme as mine, but everybody has a degree of cynicism, right, Jeff? Even Jeff would agree when it comes to approaching business relationships. Like, I think that's something that has to develop as a result of being fucked over so many times too. Or maybe I just learn better. Maybe I have to learn from experience. But like, I don't know. You feel kind of the same, Jeff. Like that, some things you pick up with experience, where it's like you can come in with like a good, like everybody's been at that point, especially working in fucking video games, because it's like the dream, right? Holy shit! Like I work in video games. Everybody's been at that point where it's like this is the fucking best shit ever. Like I'm about to work with a bunch of other guys that love games and shit, and it's gonna be fucking awesome. And then the reality can very often fall short of that.
Yep.
And then you learn that the hard way.
Yeah, I get that's absolutely correct. You were talking about the drink and the handshake. It's actually really not that far off. I mean,
it's not far. It exactly is that. It's exactly that.
Because I mean,
that's how I got to owned. It was literally a drink and a handshake kind of, and then some consideration. Like, yeah.
That's I get a lot of shit for networking and all that, but that's how I've that's destiny. I mean, literally.
Oh yeah, well, that's how we went to the Outback or whatever. Good choice.
And
and that is how it is. Again, I'm not going to name names, but it's interesting because like there's several examples of this. Like even just using you, like it actually was brought up a while ago. People were like, yeah, he's asking a few people for casting gigs, like lobbying, and it's like, it's interesting that that's looked down upon by some people, but to be honest, every time someone asks me for advice in esports, it's what I say is, don't, like, you have to almost have, I say no humility,
no shame,
but yeah, you have to kind of be like, I'm gonna ask this person a question and it's gonna be kind of uncomfortable. I'm gonna be like, hey, can I hop on your stream and just stream with you? And they're gonna probably be like, no, get away from me, you weird little demon. And you just have to be able to accept that, because that's also part of taking those advantages, or not advantages, excuse me, but creating opportunities. Kind of a similar situation for me. Like I was really stressing out recently about streaming, because it's like every time I go and do one of these events, I'm gone for a week, I lose 35, 40, 50% of my subs without a shadow of a doubt. They're gone.
Holy shit.
So then I come back and I'm like, okay, well, I really, I care about streaming. I need to get them back. So I'm like, I do things like, hey guys, at the end of the stream, I'll be like, 3 more subs and I'll keep playing StarCraft 2. Otherwise, I'm going to switch to CSGO. And that creates this weird, like, punitive vibe that I wasn't excited about, but it would work. Like 5 people would subscribe and shit like that. And all of a sudden, but then there's other people going, and this is so funny that we're even talking about this because it feels like high school, but they like go to Rotterdam stream, but like, yeah, I'm here because In Control was driving.
He's just trying to...
And it's like, they're not wrong, and it's weird, but it's like, it's a situation where I have to think of ways to try and get people to subscribe and do those things, and that's looked down upon. That's like selling out, and that's cheaping the stream. But at the end of the day, that's a huge difference in revenue for me, and like it makes me way more excited to stream if like I have a working way to get people to help contribute,
Yeah.
So it's this weird tug of war back and forth of like, you have to sell out, but you can't sell out too hard. You also have to accept that you're selling out, but at the same time pretend that you're not selling out. Like it's this, and that's esports. That's the back and forth of it.
Yeah. And that's kind of going to be a perfect segue. So let's talk about that.
It's mind linked right here,
Right?
right now.
So I want to talk about the future of the late game, myself in esports. First, let's talk about with Richard Lewis, and we're talking about just the selling out and all that stuff. I've always been very conscious of the community and their opinion of me and all that stuff. Like I take it very seriously when someone says, "Oh, he just networks and that's the only reason he's getting any of these things. He doesn't deserve them," things like that. Like I pay attention, I hear those things, and they hit. And so Richard's always been a very blunt, straightforward fucking person. And I asked him, I said, "What do you think of me?" And he kind of pinpointed me as far as what I've been
I've done, like that Linkin Park song.
Yeah,
Sorry,
he's basically he was like, "Look, you came in and you filled a gap, and you've been very open to the community opinion more so than you should be. You give it more value than it needs to, things like that." And while in some cases I would agree with him, some cases I don't, the basic thing he said though is that I have not been true to myself. And jokes aside about me being vanilla, I've never been vanilla for the sake of what people want to think of me. It's more been that's like, the whole objectivity thing. We've had that discussion before. But like when it comes to the content I've created and the things I've done, like the late game filled a gap that Chamman left. When he he had to quit the show for a while, right? The Lycan League was created to fill a gap that was left by Go for SC2 or whoever dropped their one of their StarCraft leagues. When people were complaining about, well, we want a StarCraft 2 show that does, in-depth analysis, I started getting QXC on the show, and we were doing replay reviews, things like that. So I've never just set out to do an idea and did it because I was just 100% like, that's what I want to fucking do, right? I was more, what does the community need? What do they want? What hole can I fill? And I think there was a smart...
So where were all of these people in the StarCraft community with waifu pillows that you decided to fill?
So that's kind of one thing that brought up. I told you guys about how I wanted to get rid of Kamiko-chan, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so for the context of the story, Gosu Pizza I started because I wanted to. But again, I also started Gosu Pizza. Someone brought this up in the chat. I started Gosu Pizza because Richard Lewis released those articles about North America breaking their promises, North American esports scene. So I was like, well, I'm going to create this. I'm going to make good on it. That was my goal with it. So either way, with Kamiko-chan, I wanted to put a ketchup bottle up inside like the pillowcase up near the head, and I was gonna tie it to I was gonna duct tape it to my chair, and I was just gonna start the stream. And about 5 minutes into it, when we were gonna start the show, I was gonna walk up with a knife and cut the fabric where the neck would be, and then squeeze
Lycan.
And squeeze
Kind
the
of shit will get
ketchup
you banned
bottle.
from Twitch these days. You can't do this shit anymore.
I thought that was fucking hilarious, right? I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was funny. I thought it was too absurd for anyone to take seriously. But then I thought someone might take it seriously and it might get me in trouble. Not necessarily with Twitch, but with the community. They might not like it. They might think I'm creepy. And I was kind of like, I can't do that. Well, in hindsight, it really wasn't. It was harmless, blah, blah, blah. It might have, made a few people go, ugh, but hey, I make fuckers cringe every time they tune into the show. So
That's
either
sure.
way, the point is that I didn't do it because I was so concerned with the community, and I started to wonder, how much have I really hidden myself from the community because I'm so worried about their perception. So with that little diatribe, what I'm getting at is I want to reevaluate the show, and I want to reevaluate myself. It's something we're going to talk about afterwards. Chamman show is back. He's going to have Richard Lewis and Destiny, two of my favorite people to have on the show. And they're going to be talking about a lot of the general esports topics, right? So it's going to kind of dilute the content that we can create with Destiny being on the show and things like that. So we're going to have to find a way to make the show something cool. Now, I've written about this before on Team Liquid. What I wanted the show to be was like that, Jeff, what's that ESPN show, like Pardon the Interruption or something like that?
Pardon the Interruption, Around the Horn, those, yeah.
Yeah, Pardon the Interruption, like it's got that sidebar. I don't know if you guys remember, but that's what the old late game setup used to have, is that little sidebar and a slide that would go down the topics. And that's what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be an hour-long show where we sit down and we fucking talk esports, and it's going to be quick and like fast fucking things. Like, here's a meta discussion about TVZ, right? Like, is mech too strong? And it would be In Control, Steven, someone else, like, just, you know, we're rapid fire, we're talking like we're actually paid to do this shit, right? And it would be, you know, smooth and would run well. Obviously, none of my shows have been like that. But that's what the vision I had, and then I molded the late game towards what I thought the community wanted and needed. Which I don't have a problem doing the whole, you know, what the community needs thing. It's more just I want it to be both what the community needs and what I want the product to be, kind of thing. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have to decide what to do with the late game. As far as me, I'm looking to make the jump into full-time esports. There's a company that wants to hire me as a writer, as a staff writer, and possibly upgrade to managing editor for their web-based content. And also, they would take the late game and a couple other shows I want and put them in an actual studio for production. So the late game would get like a nice little fucking revamp, and we'd have, you know, professional graphics in lower thirds and you know, cuts to break and all kinds of shit like that. Obviously, you know, Steven and Jeff would be remote still for that, but it would look really fucking cool, right? So the way those two are tying in together is doing what I want. And so that's where the change in the late game comes. I want it to be something that I like, that I'm comfortable with, that I'm happy with, and that I think is also serving you guys, the community. And I also want to make a future in esports. And I don't want to make a future sucking dick to get from place to place to place. I want it to be because...
You know, everyone always says that like it's a bad thing. Blowjobs are pretty great.
I wouldn't disagree with you. Steven, thoughts on blowjobs?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah? All right. So anyway, the point is that I might be going full-time esports very soon. I'm not saying the company's name until I get the offer letter in hand and I'm packing up and getting ready to go. But it would mean more content from me, a couple of new shows. And one of the agreements actually I made with the company is that if you pick me up, because it's a salary decrease from my day job, if you pick me up, you have to pick up the Lycan League. So the Lycan League would continue, and the prize pool would be restored back to its original bounty of 125 a week. And I think I talked them into going 300 a month for the monthly finals. So that's up from the original 200. So no, it's not ESPN. I wish it was ESPN, but I actually didn't apply for that at all. I was like, there are far more storied people in esports applying for that shit. I don't think I have a chance in hell. And this job would be better because I get to keep doing my own content with it. So anyway, that's kind of an update. I was going to make a big long TL blog post about it, but it didn't sound good when I wrote it up.
I'd at least make a Reddit thread so that I can read it and enjoy the back and
Shit on
forth.
you for it, and then maybe I can start making a whole bunch of alternate accounts to say how fucking horrible you're, like that guy who does
We
the
should
base
probably-
trade stuff.
Steven, let's talk afterwards. We'll sync up our...
One
back
thing
and
I
forth.
do want to say real quick, I want to jump back to Gfinity. The fucking production and the crew and all that stuff, you know, some people didn't like the camera work, but overall, the crew was awesome, and I really liked it. Unfortunately, it was during a weekday for the StarCraft stuff, so while EGX was going on, no one was making their way to see StarCraft, you know, probably because of work and all that stuff. So we didn't have a crowd, but the CS:GO was on a weekend, and we had a crowd as soon as it started in the morning, like full house. So it was really cool. I really like doing the CS:GO stuff, and I'm trying to do more CS:GO content in the future. And hopefully more gigs like that. So CS:GO is pretty awesome. It was a lot of fun. And working with Richard Lewis and Thorin I smoothed things over with Thorin, so him and I are cool now. And I want to say a big thank you to Richard Lewis for helping out with that. But it was a lot of fun working with both of them.
Does that mean you allied against Poland then, or how does this work? Like, what's the geopolitical stance you guys are taking then?
I didn't touch Poland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, neither would he.
All right.
Well named, my friend. Well named.
Dank memes.
All right. Let's see. We talked about. All right. This is our last topic before we go to questions. We are going to do questions. Like I've said before, I want to cut the question segment out, but because I want to integrate everything into the discussion. But today's show was a little rushed. So, Legacy of the Void is on the horizon. Jeff, I know you've been playing it the most of all of us. Tell me how you're feeling about this being a month and 10 days away.
It's interesting. It's been a long beta period, and they waited. I mean, weighted's I guess the wrong word to say, but at this junction, they started to make really big changes with like the macro mechanics, which is the most controversial one, and then really changing up some of the units and stuff like that. So I feel like the biggest changes are happening now when they really should have happened a lot earlier on. And I'm sure they would agree with that. It's just, that it's been a trial and error process. So I'm actually a little bit nervous because we're a month out from the game launching. It launches immediately after BlizzCon. Well, a little bit over a month and a couple weeks. And the game's fun and enjoyable, but I don't think anyone would look you in the eye and say if they launched with it like this right now, they'd be super happy with it. There's huge changes still to come with the UI, but also with the game itself. So I'm just kind of putting my blinders on and being like, I believe in you, Blizzard. You can do it. But it's going to be tough. So that's a little bit nerve-wracking. The game itself is still really fun. It's really awesome. I'm kind of sad that I don't know. I don't have a super strong opinion on the macro mechanics. There's some people out there that are like, this is literally the coming of the Antichrist, or this is the end of the world as we know it. And then there's people in closer to my camp, I guess, where it's just like, with or without it, it's still fun. It's very different either way. So I just kind of wish they would make a decision and then stick to it so I could just know what to expect. But I'm enjoying Legacy of the Void, and I'm hopeful, but I am nervous. 1 month to make this game ready to go for the next, the foreseeable future until StarCraft 3 is announced, which we know won't be for
Till after Warcraft
5 or 10
Exactly.
years. Yeah, it's not going to be for a long time. They got a big task ahead of them.
They do. There's a lot of work. Destiny, I know you don't play it that much. Have you played it in like the last month?
No, but I do still follow the subreddit stuff on it. There was actually a really good post a couple days ago that it seems really obvious. I don't know why I never really thought of it this way before. I really don't like how people lump all of the macro mechanics in together. I think that's actually really silly, and I think that the way that Blizzard treats them is kind of strange too. The whole remove them all, change them all. The macro mechanics serve very, very, very so like I don't even like using the word now after I read that article. Like the injecting and muling and chrono boosting, like those are all very different things.
Yeah.
It's not just like everybody does these things and then they help them a little bit in game. Like they're all very, very different things. So that like blanket removal of them, that's a very strange thing to treat them all as though they're kind of similar. And like Jeff said, these are some pretty fucking big changes, and to roll and to still be rolling all of these things out and to feel like the game hasn't really settled yet, and some people are still mad about liberators and shit, and then obviously in terms of like how I still don't think there's like a consensus on how these macro mechanic changes are going to pan out. Like what are things going to finally look like? Yeah, it's a little bit nervous to see that we're coming to the release date, but I guess let's see what happens.
We talked about that last week, actually, or the last time we had a show. We talked about that, and that I'm actually curious. I'd like to know what the developers were thinking, because if you think about just StarCraft in general, there's no X affects Y, right? Everything, the issue with StarCraft 2 is that it is such a well-balanced game in the long run. Everything interacts with itself, right? So let's say you just chose some random Terran unit and we're like, hey, we took the mule away, so we're gonna try to fix it by reducing the mineral costs of things in general. The reason you would have to do this, the reason someone would come to that conclusion, is because the mule isn't just this random thing that's used to late game boost your mineral economy. The mule is factored into
everything.
Every
to Marine
build.
Rush, to your build timings, to when you can take your third. Yeah,
exactly.
Sure.
That income, and so that goes along the perfect point of that post, which is the shit isn't. I don't know why they decided, well, if we change inject, we have to change mule and chrono, because those aren't intertwined. And so, like I was saying, like if you were to decide, oh, we took away the mineral income of this, so let's reduce the cost of Marine Marauder and everything else mineral wise, there would be so many abusive builds created out of that because you reduce that economy. So then you'd have to start balancing other things like, okay, now we have to really only do this unit and that unit, and that would take so much time. The point being is that the example we talked about last week was look at worker harass and how it affects each race. How each race has different kind of static defense, and like Protoss can create a cannon that shoots up and down. Protoss can also instantly warp in a bunch of units to defend, right? So if you catch Protoss on the other side of the map, they have that. Terran only can shoot air with their auto defense, so early game, they're going to have a Thor or whatever. The long story short of what we talked about is that if Terran takes damage, mules kind of compensate for that. If Protoss takes damage, they have easier ways to defend quickly back at home, and they can kind of chrono probes out. And then with Zergs, well, this is just not
We're
going really.
generalizing a lot here. I think if Protoss takes
Yeah.
damage, they're almost always fucked. That's always been a big problem with Protoss. If you lose like
Well,
8
right.
probes at any point in the game, like before you're at like 44 workers, like you've auto lost the game, I think. Or
Well,
unless
right.
that's changed significantly. You know?
Right, but Protoss can also recall, and they can warp
Yeah,
in
yeah,
and
sure. No,
defend.
okay, yeah, sure.
And then, so that's exactly it, though. That's kind of my point, right? Like, Protoss will be dead. They lose fucking 20 probes to a Widowmine, you're fucking done, right?
Mhm.
But they have the different ways that they can defend it that the other races can't. So it's kind of that asymmetry of everything. And then Zerg, you don't lose all of your army. You get home in time to defend. Even if you lose 13 drones, you're not fucking done. You kept your army. You can defend any other aggression, and you can instantly pop out 13 more workers, right?
Sure, yeah, yeah.
So,
Red style, yeah.
But yeah, basically, that's the whole, kind of thing where I don't understand where they came from, deciding to choose one thing of each when they're not intertwined, so to
Sure.
speak.
I feel like a big problem is that, and this gets into the, concept is really important in anything. Like, you start a design, like, if you look at, like, the workflow for, like, a design process, right? Like, concept is always at the start, and then that concept will, like, drive your design, and then that design will drive, like, employee hires, and, the influence comes all the way down. But all of it comes from, like, a central point, right? You can't work backwards. Like, you can't start designing, like a bunch of front end stuff without having any idea what's going on in any other stage of the process, right? And I feel like when you look at kind of like a lot of the changes that Blizzard's doing with the game right now, I kind of feel like it would be nice if there was like some kind of like guiding design principle. Like if Davey had like a short like paragraph summary of like, how do we want StarCraft 2 to play? Like, what exactly do we want? And then you'd be able to see like, well, how are all of the changes influenced by that specific goal, I feel like that would be like a really nice thing to see, because it does kind of feel like some of the changes are a little clusterfucky. Sometimes they come out of left field, like, wait, so what exactly is the goal, like with making Queen Injects automatic? Like, so are we trying to make the game more accessible to new players? Is that the big design philosophy now, that StarCraft 2 should be a fun game that's very easily accessible to new players? Like, because I thought we were addressing that with Archon mode, right? Because if that's the goal, to make the game easier, okay, cool, Archon mode does that, awesome. Well, now why are we changing macro mechanics? What are you going to do in Archon mode if the injecting is automatic? Like, I thought offloading macro tasks is one of the big things in that. Like, I feel like some kind of overall like guiding principle or philosophy would be really good to hear on, just so that people could understand better, like what exactly the goal is behind a lot of those changes.
Sure.
Yeah. Jeff, any final thoughts before we move on?
No, I got nothing.
Cool. All right, we're going to now move into the questions segment. No, I've not vetted these. Yes, I'm going to stumble over reading them. Yes, you're going to have to deal with it. So, Jeff, do you have any predictions for the Pro League finals?
No, I actually haven't been watching a Pro League. Most of it's been going on while I'm on. I'm not even hyping this up, guys. I've been home like 9 days the last 2 months, literally. So,
damn.
No.
I'm gonna say, well, SOS is on a hot streak, and that's cool. I think SK Telecom's going to take it. I haven't been watching a lot of Pro League, but they do have Dark, Innovation, Sue. Sue's a little bit on a downswing, I think, but with Innovation and Dark, I think it's going to be a really good, and it's going to go in their favor. Is it going to be close? Yeah. They don't really have too many strong Protoss, but I think they will win. That's my bet on that. If I were a gambling man. So thoughts on the SMA. So the StarCraft Map Making Association was announced a couple weeks ago, and I put this topic off, so we will address this. And their goal is to kind of be a source of communication between map makers and Blizzard and all that. I think this is coming from the community's feelings about certain maps being put into the map pool and things like that. So they want to make maps that the community wants, and they want to make maps that Blizzard is going to want to put into competition. I think it's a good idea. I think it's kind of cool. I don't know exactly how it works. Obviously, Blizzard has to be open and receptive, and while they've shown themselves to be recently very receptive to the community's thoughts, will they be receptive to this? I don't know. But I do like the idea. Because for this map pool, for instance, I don't like that we're taking this map pool to BlizzCon. Jeff, I don't know how you feel about that.
They're bringing a new map to BlizzCon?
No. They're bringing the current map pool, but I don't like the current map pool. I think it's the same vetoes every time, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of variance.
I agree. I think they're stuck with it, though. I think I absolutely agree. Like, every tournament's Coda first map, and, you never see Moonlight Madness, etc., etc. This map pool is very safe, very general, and it's been on too long, I think. But you cannot go into the biggest tournament and be like, let's make it wacky and wild with like a month of play testing, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
The results are thrown off and shit.
You've always gotten the half-hearted bullshit in the past where people are like, okay, well, you know what? We listened to you guys. You wanted some crazy unorthodox maps?
Right.
Well, here they are.
Dream
We've got
pool!
or not even that, but like we've got 1 or 2 maps that are real wacky and will definitely produce some entertaining games. And then those maps are always vetoed every single tournament. And then you just see like the standard 3.
Exactly
right.
Like,
okay.
Well, we gotta have the safe maps in there, and yeah, and then the best
Just
of
in
7,
case.
they show up and neither player has played a single game.
Has any idea what
like,
to do? Yeah, and then you get people in the threads posting about all the possible things you can do, but no player really knows because nobody. Yeah.
Exactly. So I hope next season they change up the maps a lot more frequently and they do take bigger risks. But right now it's too late. You cannot go into BlizzCon with a fucked up map pool.
Agree. And I don't think they're proposing that. They're just announcing the organization. As far as the organization itself, I would really like to see this work out, and then I'd like to see Blizzard be receptive to both community opinion and the community opinion. See, here's the issue though, right? Is they release a season and then what? The fucking WCS qualifications are a week later, right? Yeah. So they don't want to change the map pool in the middle of the fucking the event.
Yeah.
And so I don't really know a good solution to that. Like,
I'd love it if they. I mean, we've been saying this for a while, but maybe they slow down. Is what a weird thing to say. We're not policymakers, but I hope they slow down WCS next year. It doesn't need to be wall-to-wall WCS all year long. I'd love it if there's some off seasons and it's not just December and most of November. You know.
Yeah.
Give it some time for that kind of stuff to happen. But yeah, map pool. I agree with you. The organization itself is cool in theory, and yeah, they've got an aggressive schedule to try to jump in there. But people with dedicated interest in making cool maps, that sounds awesome to me, and I wish them all the luck. That'd be great.
All right. Someone in the chat asked, I don't normally answer the chat questions because it can get really confusing, but something that they asked is, what are your views on sharing private opinions about public figures in esports? Of course, first person coming to mind is Thorin, who I respected before he publicly bashed Poland. Personally, I'm sure Day 9 wouldn't be so loved by the community if he said some things personally he thinks. One thing I've always thought is if I ever get a chance to do an actual like heart-to-heart interview with Day 9, I would ask, what the fuck makes him angry? Because I'm sure that this guy, just like everyone else, is a human being. There's something in the world that makes Day 9 go, motherfucker. And
I really don't like not being happy, you know? I just, whenever I'm not smiling, it just makes me so gosh darn upset, you know? No. It's a very, if you know Sean on a personal level, he does get mad about things. He's a living, breathing human being, but in his mind and his team's mind, and it's not wrong, one of the best ways to operate yourself in the public sphere is put your best foot forward and keep smiling. And like what does his Twitter profile say? Something like something about laughing all the time.
Relentless positivity or something. Yeah, I've heard the same.
And that's it's safe. It works. It's absolutely a good way to go about it for some people, and it's not for everyone. So
I was talking to Fear Dragon about like something pissed me off, and he likes to let me be he likes to help me vent, so he'll let me say whatever's pissing me off. And he one thing he said is like one of the reasons that Day 9 is the way he is, like, I've talked about before, actually, no, maybe it wasn't Fear Dragon. I think it was like I had entertained a troll, and the troll then actually took the time out to write me about something. Maybe it was either him or Fear Dragon. Weird people to confuse. Either way, I was upset about something. I was talking about like the ding it shit, and how like the ding it and the winter situation, and how I try to be objective, and I'm not defending one way or another. I'm just trying to provide input on my thoughts. And the person said something to the effect of, what Day 9 has always done is he's not interjected himself. Even if he had a disagreeing opinion, he just ignored those issues and whatnot. I can't remember how that came to bring up Day 9, but it was kind of a good point. It's something I wish I had actually done for a long time. There are certain things I'm happy I've defended, but at the same time, there are certain things that have become a bane of my existence on the r/StarCraft subreddit, is defending Ding It, and that shit still gets brought up all the time, right? And I kind of wish I had taken a little more backseat approach to my niceness.
You're not like committing suicide soon or anything, are you? Because we're here for you, buddy. Like no one. I'm just like it's so gotten like this is like the tally of like Lycan's regrets about his life. I don't know. Men are really good at killing themselves statistically.
If he gives you all of his worldly possessions after the stream, let me know, God. We gotta.
if that's for the conversation afterwards is like,
You gotta
if,
make some phone
like, it's like,
calls.
you know what, man, you guys have done so great with the show. I'm throwing you each like $7,482. Like, well, what an oddly specific number. Yeah, well,
I
you
have
know,
a nice
you're
car
fine.
too. Either you need a car that you drive, and
Jeff, I just
Anyway,
got these.
sorry.
I just got these shadow blades from
Yeah.
CS:GO. I wish I could split them up and give one to each of you, but you know. Anyway, oh my God! Every time I get a shadow case, I get like a mini. Like, oh please, still haven't gotten a knife.
no, I've never opened a knife. I've spent more than I should.
Yeah,
It's impossible.
yeah. Steven, you ever opened a knife?
I've opened like 6 cases.
Don't ever give in, Steven.
Yeah, I could have bought a knife.
I wasted some of my money on fucking Hearthstone. I probably dropped $200 on fucking packs for that shit. So
Isn't it crazy how that happens?
no, I mean I enjoy it. Like,
Yeah, you enjoy the thrill. Like you get a couple of really awesome cards, and you're like, oh fuck
it's
yeah.
not even like it's like a really weird feeling because growing up I had to pirate everything because I didn't have the money to buy or spend money on anything. Like I just couldn't. Like if I wanted like fucking toys, I had to save up money for my fucking paper route to buy shit. Or like if and then after I moved out with my parents like 16, 17, like if I wanted any kind of software, there had to be a pirate available because I couldn't just throw money at things. I don't fucking money for that shit.
Yeah.
And so like nowadays, like when I have disposable income, if there's something I like to be able to spend money at it. And I like Hearthstone, so I got the fucking skin and I threw money at it, right? This
That
kind of
is
goes back to
cool.
some of the things I said about like StarCraft 2. Like if there were skins for StarCraft 2, like yeah, I'd love to throw fucking $200, $300 at Blizzard for shit for StarCraft. I always bought all the collector's editions and shit.
I always appreciate both though, because I didn't grow up in poverty, but I definitely, my parents, we had chores or whatever, and we
Yeah.
just get stuff for free every time. And then I liked Warhammer even at 12, and it's still ungodly expensive. So it was like 2 birthdays and a Christmas to get the big Carnifex or something like that. And
Sure.
and I like the contrast of, because I agree with you now. Like I'm in a place in my life where I was like, you know what, I want a Warlord Titan that costs as much as a small car. Let's make it happen, and we could do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wish I'd opened a knife, but the amount of money I've spent on cases and keys, I could have bought a nice knife. But then again, I don't want to buy it. I want to win it. You know what I mean? Like I want it to be a draw kind of
Yeah, that
thing.
means a lot to some people.
That's
People
the
always
gambler
ask
in
me
you.
that.
That's the gambler in you. That,
Yeah.
Well,
that is a
people, for whatever reason, illogical or irrational, now, like people always ask you that when you get in a game. Like, did you open that knife? Did you open that? Did you open
Yes.
that? Like, it doesn't. Like, you could say anything. Like, it doesn't make a difference. You're like, why are you even asking?
They want to
But
know
there's
if
just
you
like that
experienced
respect.
that joy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Did you roll?
I have
Yeah.
my first draw ever from a case. Like my first case opening, it was a factory new Mag 7. I can't remember which thing it was. What's that?
That's actually like the worst that can happen. is when
Well-
you get something right off the bat.
I think it's almost on purpose, because like
You fucking spend the rest of your life chasing like.
I've thought about that. I've
I
thought
actually wouldn't be shocked. Like within my first 10 case openings was a Manowar.
yeah, isn't
My
that fucking
buddy,
cool?
it's like it's probably the nicest thing I've ever opened. It was inside my first 10. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, this is great. If it 10's kind of a lot, but if that's all it takes to get such a great item, then gee willikers, Bob, I should just go, and then it never happens again.
You ever play video? You sit down to play video poker in a casino, and like you get a win in like your first
I don't play
game.
video poker. That man.
Yeah, so
See, I'm a gambler. See, I play Texas Hold'em. That's all I do.
I said, oh, I don't do a lot. I go with like $50 just to see what I can do. But I'll sit down in a machine and I'll get a win right off the bat, and I just kind of feel that it's programmed that if the
mind.
the machine hasn't been touched in a while, it gives you a win early on, so you'll keep playing.
Like the degenerates that go to casinos forever, they'll like actually point out other machines to some people and be like, that one hasn't hit in 4 weekends.
Oh, I saw a fucking 65-year-old lady. This fucking chick was old and brittle as fuck. Started attacking another younger woman with her purse because she had sat down at a video machine and she dumped like $1,000 into the thing and it never hit. And as soon as the other lady sat down, she put in like $5 and hit immediately. And the old lady thought that it was her money. She was like, "Oh, that's fucking bullshit." And she fucking attacked her. They had to call security to pull this. Like, she had like her little fucking purse and she was like, oh my god, it was insane.
That's
Holy
awesome.
shit.
Jesus Christ. Well,
Yeah, that's all I got to say.
it's like I'm that way when it comes to the cases and the card packs. Like one time I bought 10 Hearthstone card packs. This was during the beta. I bought 10 and I got 7 legendaries out of it. Is that what they're called? I haven't
In
played
what
Hearthstone
game?
in a while. The ones with the dragon around them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure, legendary. Yeah.
Yeah, I got 7 legendaries in 10 packs. So like I bought 20 packs after that because I was like, well, shit, if I'm on this good a streak right
And
now,
then none.
I think I got one more, and it was the fucking dude that you flip a coin and you either get a draw or you don't get a draw. Like you have a
Some
50.
shitty
Yeah.
card.
Anyway, Topper McNabb, I think is what it is. Anyway, so somehow we fucking got here. I don't even remember. It was a good conversation though.
Yeah.
Oh, we were talking about. Yeah, I wish I had not been so vocal on certain issues. But the guys, to answer your question to the guy, I don't think it's wrong to publicly talk about someone and your opinions on someone, but to just do it publicly and bash them for no reason, I don't know if you were kind of asking me from the way your question was. I can't really tell. You're asking my thoughts on Thorin. I like Thorin. I think Thorin's a pretty fucking. It's the same reason I like Destiny in a lot of ways. It's that they
Well,
just say what they.
I don't. Hey, Poland. I just want to get that
Are
out
you-
there, guys, in case anybody.
No, we're not going there. I like that, he is very blunt and open and honest with his thoughts, especially when it comes to like his opinions on CS:GO and League of Legends. He doesn't just come out like had been shitting on Nip for a long time. He shit on Nip all weekend, but he doesn't just come out and do that in an unfounded way. He has a reason for why he feels the way he does, right? So he's not afraid to be subject to the ire of the Ninjas in Pajamas fan base, which he has been. And I like that. There have been times where I've been afraid to say how I feel about certain things because I don't want to rock the boat in certain ways. So I respect people that can do that without concern.
Thorin is like, for all accounts and purposes, Thorin is one of the most educated people in any field of like esports. Like he knows his shit. Like love him or hate him, right? Would you agree?
Oh yeah, everyone
Like
would.
he knows his shit. Like, and that's one of the reasons why people get so mad at him too. Like, you can't be a fanboy around Thorin. Like, he will absolutely fucking destroy you. Like, if you want to fanboy your thing, like, oh man, dude, he will fucking take you to fucking town. It's funny because Thorin has no chill. Like, you can't, like, you can be with somebody, like, you know this, right? If you're casting with somebody, even if you're casting StarCraft, so if you're casting somebody, and they say something like, oh, like, the Protoss is gonna have to watch out because if the Terran opens his aggressive build, he could be in trouble. And like, you might know that, like, no, this is totally standard. Like, and you'll say something, yeah, but I think the Terran will be, or I think the Protoss will be okay or whatever. Like, this should be pretty. Like, you'll say something like that to kind of not be a dick or whatever. Thorin will like go off and he'll be like, it's really funny that you say that because the past 47 games, these same openers have happened, and and only one of the games is any kind of aggressive things happen. It makes me wonder if you even know what the fuck you're talking. Like he'll just like go off on you. Like it's kind of funny, but he's done that shit before. And oh man, dude, if you've never seen it, he was on a show called Summoner's Rift, I think, with some other
Summoning
guy.
Insight.
Or Summoning Insight. Yeah. Where did you ever see that episode where he fucking went off on the guys?
Monte Cristo.
Yeah. Oh shit, dude. He's funny. He knows his shit though. Like, you love him or hate him, like Thor knows his shit. So
He's not my cup of tea, but I think what I like about him and what I think is pretty sensible is like if he was by himself as a show, I wouldn't enjoy it because he is like that. He's just kind of a shitter. He's like the analogy would be like a shock jock. Like he doesn't just say, but he says what he says aggressively, hyperbolic, and like pretty toxic actually, to use a terrible word. And the reason is because it garners a reaction, but he does know his shit. It's not like he's just randomly bullying or picking a feud or something like that. He's backing it up. Mm-hmm. What I like about him is if he's with other people that can stand up to him and disagree with him or banter, then it becomes a cool, interesting show. I don't like echo chambers of agreement, which is there's a lot of that in esports where it's like, well, such and such is doing such and such. Like, gee willikers, what a great point, boy, and you're absolutely right. Like everything here's right. And then they're like, what do you think, Mr. Number 3? And number 3 is like, well, guys, I have to agree with you again, and then like it just goes around and around and around, and everyone gets off multiple times. Like that's just not as interesting to me. I do like the 1 or 2 people that are able to be like, actually, I think this is such and such. Where I think it becomes dangerous is that esports again has such fluctuating talent pools. Sometimes Thorin is next to a guy where Thorin's like, well, I can't do a Thorin voice. It becomes red eye, but he just
you don't even have the winter coat on, dog.
I know, but he's just like, well, actually, in the last 4 events, they've come up 0 and 4 in this regard, and you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
and then that guy just kind of like
And you
puffs
can't
in
say
his chin
anything.
and just looks off and just like, well,
And he knows like all the fucking numbers. Like you might even say like, well, but they kind of almost won that one game. And he'll be like, well, that's just because that player was out sick with fucking he had, you know, some kind of disease that exact fucking day. And if you watch each of the individual matches, even though like two of them were kind of close, you could tell like blah blah blah. It was like he fuck
yeah.
yeah. I don't even like calling him a shock jock because I think that what he says has a lot of substance. I feel like shock jock is usually relegated to people without substance who only rely on shock or whatever to, you know, like
Okay, maybe in the pure sense, but let's put it this way: he knows his shit. Like, we all agree.
yeah,
But
he could be a lot
does
nicer.
say, "Oh, no, that's not even." See, that's too nice. That's not it. That's
too
not it at all.
yeah.
He literally will like lay down next to a trophy, take a picture of him with it, tweet it to C9, and say, "I'm closer to this trophy than you'll ever be." Like that's.
Did
You don't want to
see
call it
the,
a shock jock, okay? But let's come up with a term that's exactly the same fucking thing. Because
Did you see his recent tweet about the little picture he fucking tweeted? I think it was about TSM fans. Oh
Probably.
shit.
Did you?
Oh god. Oh, there are a lot of things that there are a lot of sometimes they're like tidbits of things. I'm guessing that like people just say they're just stupid. Like, oh well, that guy has he's really good because he has multiple play styles or whatever. So he's better than the other guy who might accept like just like he tweets images like this all the time.
he makes for a nice piece of a production, and I appreciate that. But when you're doing stuff with him, you really fucking you gotta design the team around him basically because it becomes so bad when there's someone that's because he doesn't have an off button. Well,
Yeah, no
that's
chill. He has no
He
chill.
has very little off button. So if some guy says something, he's got no problem being like, you know, you're actually completely wrong on this, and here's why, and here's 10 examples of that. And now, because I'm Thorin, I'm going to talk for 25 minutes straight, and not let anyone talk at all. And then, like, if nobody else can handle that, then it's a really weird broadcast. But if you can handle it, it's awesome. And that's why I think Richard Lewis in particular is pretty okay with him. Actually, better than Richard Lewis with him is probably Sir Scoots, because Sir Scoots can fucking dish it back sometimes and be like,
and he knows his shit as well, and his
like,
feelings won't get hurt either. Yeah.
he's like, unlike you, sitting on a stack of books, I was actually out there managing a team and playing the game that you're talking about.
Yeah,
and then Thorne like autistically just kind of stares off a little bit and is like, well, let me.
I wonder.
Sir Scoots is a
Gets
really
interesting.
funny guy too. I wish he would be more involved in like hosting and casting shit, like more as a front person. But
So, real quick, you ever see the Twitter Cloud9 Mateos ego?
I haven't, but there are a few league like meta accounts like that. What
a-
does it just make fun of?
Yeah, I wonder if Thorin runs this one. There was a tweet yesterday that I really liked, which was, yeah, so basically Liquid made it to fucking Mars before making it to Worlds.
Jesus Christ!
Right?
Oh shit!
Anyway, so real quick, let me talk about Thorin and Richard Lewis, right? Let me talk about hosting real quick. So I had a really cool experience. Day one, I had to work a little harder as a host because not day one, but for the StarCraft stuff, I had Bling, Daishi, and Dario on the fucking analyst desk, all extremely intelligent, all really fun to work with, but I would have to like continuously guide the conversation. I'd say something, I'd get an answer, but it would never lead to anything else, right? So I'd have to, drive. And I liked that. It was cool, and I felt that I did a pretty decent job at that. Thorin and Richard Lewis are like a fucking barrel of gas, and all I had to do was flick a fucking match at it, and they'd go off until the fumes burn out, and then I just had to light another match, right? And so I really appreciated that. And you talking about Thorin and like, lighting people up, it actually kept me really honest, because I fall into this thing where I'm trying to, impress people. And I know that, future opportunities ride on me hosting and blah, blah, blah. With Thorin and Richard Lewis, I never felt the need to pretend I knew any more about CSGO than I actually do, right? They were the ones who talked. They were the ones who had the information. And I felt very comfortable just saying, hey, Thorin, tell me about this, and letting them discuss. And both of them are very good about passing to one another, right? So I'd pass to Thorin, and then Thorin would, do his thoughts, and he'd look at Richard, and Richard would immediately, like, without missing a fucking beat, they both would just have this conversation. And all I had to do was just make sure there was a topic to fucking discuss, right? So it was very, very pleasurable working with them. And I hope that if I ever do CSGO again, I get to have them on the desk. But the week prior, I was actually really scared because I watched Thorin kind of tear apart, what's his name, Henry G a bit on the DreamHack London desk. So, I got to see two sides of Thorin, one the week before on Twitch and then the one in person. So I really like working with him. He's extremely intelligent, and it makes for a great individual on a panel.
Sure.
All right, let's see. So this one's about why are big teams with money like Cloud9 and TSM, why do they avoid picking up StarCraft 2 players? Jeff, any thoughts on that?
What's that?
Why big teams like Cloud9 and TSM, teams with money, why they don't invest in StarCraft players?
Because it makes more sense to continually invest in the ones that are really driving the scene right now, like Dota, LoL, and CS:GO. StarCraft in Legacy of the Void. Oh, you out of here, hon? Love you. She's going to Prague. So. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Legacy of the Void, you're going to see a little bit more of that. Maybe you'll see a couple of players signed by teams like a Cloud9, TSM, etc. But people just need to recognize, like, especially this last year, it's been on a downward swing. So it just doesn't make any sense to throw money at these players. Because, again, these players, too, like, gone are the days, I think, for the most part, where you get a worthwhile player for, like, $500 a month. These are all adults now that maybe they're playing StarCraft, so they're not commanding the biggest social media, but they still need to make a living fucking wage, you know? So if you're signing a player, it's $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month. Whoa. Which players are not going to... They're not going to be signed to right now. So.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Wisecracks asks, are any of you guys putting time into discovering or creating builds? And he asks a couple other things. Jeff, I want to ask about that. Like, are you approaching Legacy of the Void right now? Are you trying to keep up to date on the meta? Or are you just trying to test the game? How are you approaching your gameplay?
Oh, the meta. You mean that thing that wildly changes every fucking week in Legacy of the Void right now? I mean, yeah, I think things are being found to be very strong and people are playing with them, like Adept All-Ins, Liberators in general. Stuff like that, and there are like little mini metas. Like Protoss are having to learn pylon placement in a way that they never did before. And no, I'm not just talking about pylon rushes, which are pretty awesome, but I am talking about like base design. You know, beyond just double pylon stacking your gateways. Now it's like, oh my god, was that like someone unwrapping a burrito or?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that was that loud.
Oh, it's super loud, but. You want to spread out your gateways. You need to put pylons next to your next eye for those 2-second dank warp-ins. You also need to, triple, quadruple pylon stack the front of your bases, your expansions, where you put them, back of the mineral line for oracles, stuff like that. Like things that seem really basic, and obviously if we're just talking about it, it is very basic. But in the heat of a game and on the fly and undoing the muscle memory of Heart of the Swarm, it's actually quite difficult. So. There's that kind of stuff going on. But as far as like designing new builds. I'm not up late at night, you know, with like a template, like writing out what I think are theoretically awesome ideas. I'm more just playing the game, finding strengths, and then working with those strengths. So I guess that would be the experimentation. But it's fun, but it's also things are changing so much that it's impossible to be like. Well, I mean, for a while, like Puck had this invincible Adept All-In that was against Terran that was just like it could not really be beaten, and this other guy was out there was doing a one base. Warp Prism Adept All-In that was unbeatable. And that could be considered the meta, I suppose. But then people started to kind of acclimate towards that. A few things got changed here and there. And then those things fell by the wayside a little bit. So that's just kind of the state of the game right now. Where it's at.
Okay. You know, I'm actually I'm excited because I've, doing the Lycan League and all that, I've actually kept up really well on the state of Legacy of the Void. So I would actually feel way more prepared to cast a Legacy of the Void tournament than I would for Heart of the Swarm. That's one of the things I was looking forward to. I didn't think I'd suddenly, jump to the top of the ladder and become GM and suddenly pro or any stupid shit like that. But I definitely took it as an opportunity to get I have a base understanding of StarCraft and kind of fill in the gaps with Legacy of the Void. So I've been enjoying that. That's kind of how I've approached it. Is more just I want to learn what everyone else is at the top doing right now, even if I can't execute it. Let's see what else we have. I'd do that, but that's on a burn account, so I don't know if you're legit. I think that's
burn.
Jesus,
it's like way more official.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, guys. Do you have any final thoughts before we cut it?
No, just good show.
Yeah, we had some
Enjoyed yourself.
pretty good discussions. Jeff, where are you again in Counter Strike?
Legendary Eagle, my friend. I deranked from LEM, thinking I
Oh,
would get it back no problem, and it's been about a 2-month journey of just sitting at LE.
oh, damn.
Is
See,
Ellie the one after I made? I was Master Guardian Elite. Is that the next one? Or no?
No, that's DMG, then Eagle.
What's the one with 2 AKs?
That's Master Guardian Elite.
Yeah, and then the next one is DMG, and then a Legendary Eagle Master.
Yep.
Oh, okay,
Well, no,
gotcha.
LEM is after Legendary Eagle. It goes.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Master
Oh my
Guardian.
god, I'm done. Never mind. I hate the CS:GO ranks, dude. This is the fucking dumbest fucking naming scheme in the history of mankind. Sorry, go ahead. Explain it.
Well,
well, I mean, I
No, let him explain. Let him explain. So there's Legendary Eagle and then Legendary Eagle Master.
yep. And then
Okay.
Supreme First Class, and then Global Elite.
Gotcha. Do you think that so I'm thinking like usually if I duo queue with a friend, I don't have a problem. I complained with this about Richard Lewis a little bit earlier. We're like, do you think that you should just remove Dust 2 from your map pool to avoid the incessant fucking idiots that play that map? Like it seems like that map has a higher concentration of
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Yeah, it's the highest, but it's actually there's no but there. It absolutely is the highest. And especially if you're solo queuing, I actually still really enjoy it because I played it back in 1.6, and I've only been playing since January, so it hasn't gotten old to me yet.
Sure.
But I'm still, the degenerate in me is still just like, you know what? I got an hour and it's getting ready for bed. I'll play a game of CS:GO, and then I queue up, solo queue. It's of course Dust 2.
Always.
The guy introduces himself. He's like, "Hello, faggot," and you're a cunt, and I hate you, and fuck you. And then if you say anything, I'll be like, well, that's not very nice. And he's like, well, okay, guys, I blocked him, and I'm AFK in the corner now. And it's like, oh,
So
Damn, your game sound way worse than mine. I
It's
mean,
over.
it happens, but it seems like it's pretty rare.
I'm exaggerating, but stuff
Oh, okay,
like
sure,
that
sure.
happens within the first 3 rounds. What I had a guy. Okay, so we were playing. It was actually on cash, but it's everyone has these stories. But we're like, it's pistol rounds, the first fucking round, and the
Oh,
whole warm up, we're all just like, oh yeah, good shot. Like, oh, I noticed your name is this. Do you play that game? Like, it's like really friendly. And then on cash, he's lurking over at B spawn. We go A. The fucking guy in quad like double dinks the two of us. Our heads just explode. The third and fourth guy are like trying to get a shot, and then the guy at B gets picked off lurking, and there's like, Jesus Christ, why did you guys run into the site? So those two guys run in and get fucking destroyed. And I'm like, and this is what I said. I'm like, hey man, if you're like across the map, maybe you don't make blind calls because that situation really didn't call for two guys just randomly running in there. And he goes, Jesus Christ, another fucking knob idiot noob. All right, muted him, guys. I don't even know what to do. And I'm like, I even said it that way. I was, just like conversational team chat. Like, let's try to hammer this down round one. Instant shut the fuck up, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And then the whole game was tense, and it was just so bad.
Why are you so fucking bad? It's like, I don't know, dog. You should know the answer. You're the same fucking rank. You tell me, dog. Like, fuck. Like, I hate it when I'm because I'm in the shitter ranks. I'm like gold, like double AKs and single AKs and shit. Like, fuck. Like, dog. Like, we're all fucking bad, mate. Like, if you weren't, you wouldn't fucking be. And it's like oh, dude, I got in an argument with one guy like a couple weeks ago. It's like every fucking game, I'm fucking top fragging, and I can never fucking win. And it's like, maybe the temper tantrum that you're throwing right now might be an explanation why. Because there's like we were playing a game, and like normally I'm queued with another friend, so normally I'm doing really well in terms of kills or whatever, and there'll be like second or third fragger will just spend the entire game shitting on bottom fragger. Like, that's all they do. Like, the guy, like, he'll be like, yo, can I get a drop or whatever? And like, I'll always drop if I can. I don't give a fuck how many kills you have because it's better for the team. And the guy will be like, why would I give you a gun? You're just gonna fucking die, you fucking noob. And it's like, dog, chill out. Like, I got in an argument with one guy. I'm like, just chill out, dude. Like, it's not all about kills. Like, the guy can still help. He can make call outs. Like, it's fine. And he's like, oh, it's not all about the kills? So then every single fucking round that we lost, every round then for the next fucking 10 rounds, every round we lost, he was like, wonder if 2 frags there would have helped us win the round when there's like 2 guys alive. Right? Wonder if 1 frag there would have helped us out when it's like 1v1. It's like, okay, dude. Oh, man.
I told a kid to grow up, and you'd think I fucking, I don't know, I did something really bad. I told him that extra age. He's like, on a video game? I'm like, yeah, you're a human fucking being having to interact with 4 other human beings. How about you be a decent person? And this kid, just the entire fucking round, like, he tried to kick me at the end of every game. Like,
no, the best one, and to even touch on this, the best thing is actually everyone's shit until you're global, and then even then,
you're still shit.
Tell you there's tiers there as well.
Where's the StarCraft image where it's like, even when you're GM, it's like GM in NA, go play on a real server. GM in Korea, are you even in the GSL, you fucking shit? Or like, yeah, like everybody will say that, yeah.
But that's CSGO, but tell them. Like, that's how I always silence the nerds. They're like, Jesus Christ, you're 17 and 24 and you've been playing for 1,200 hours or whatever. It's like, you fucking newbie. And I'm like, yo, man, we're both in Legendary Eagle. And he's like, no, my other account's LEM. I'm like, hey,
then why do you only have 22 kills at round 27, you fucking shit?
No, I don't say that. I say, that's still shit. We're all shit. Like, just deal with it, man. And then they always just like, shut the fuck up, because it's true. Everyone in CSGO, if you're fucking playing matchmaking, you're god-awful, or you're a global dicking around.
Everybody has a fucking bad day where your fucking aim is off, where you're not hitting the fucking flick shots. Like, it happens. Like,
yep.
I had a really good 2 weeks. The reason I bring up ranks, I had a really good 2 weeks. I'm like, I'm going to be doing this tournament. I want to really get into it. And I went from Silver 4 to whatever the 4-star gold is.
Gold Nova 4.
Yeah, Gold Nova 4. And then I got tilted. And I wanted to blame it on Smurfs, because there was always a guy with like 30 kills while everyone else had 10. But, that could just be a guy who's on hot streak, right? I can't say, yeah, he's a Smurf.
In the lower leagues, Smurfing destroys games. It's pretty stupid. And like, when I noticed that when I was really bad, like in those games, whichever team, it was kind of like early league, like any team that had the Smurf would win. Because those guys would get like, if somebody in the enemy team is getting 45 kills, like no amount of coordination, a Gold Nova 3 is going to get you over that, over the guy who buys the Deagle every round and then like, fixes your team. Like, there's nothing overcomes that.
Yeah, so
it's just, it happens.
I get up there and I start playing people with I can't remember the thing, Master Guardian or whatever, the AK rank. I started playing people with that, and then I went on a little bit of a losing streak. I got deranked a few times, and now what the issue is, like in the lower gold, is people that haven't played matchmaking ranked before. Like, it's just like half the team is unranked. That fucking blows.
And like 2 weeks ago, I was in a game. This is back when I was playing last ago. I got in a game with a couple of kids, and the kid like tried to trick me into giving him like my Skype ID, and I was like, yeah, sure. And I typed my Skype. I was like, that's my Skype. And he's like, oh my god, dude, do you know anything? I'm totally gonna fucking DDoS, And we had this huge. Oh shit, dude. I don't know, man. CS:GO. I think like the 12-year-olds are my favorite part. That's not really wrong, like in any other context. Right? Like,
I hate the squeakers, man. I never called them squeakers until I started playing this game a lot, and I fucking...
Actually, some of the best answers I've ever heard in my life were from squeakers. I think I actually have so much faith in like the ones that are just incessantly yelling and stuff like that. It's fine. Like, you can easily write them off as idiots, but there's been a couple where I just the things you can say to those kids, like you'll be like dude, don't worry. Like, I know you're getting picked on in 7th grade right now, but like things are gonna get better in high school. And they'll be like, shut up! It's fucking 6th grade anyways, you idiot. And you're like, oh.
Oh, when they correct you. Yeah, the one guy did that. I was like, what are you, like fucking 13? He's like, I'm 14. Like, why would you even say anything, dude?
They don't know. That's why it's awesome. It's fun.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
And a lot of times they're good, by the way, too. I've had fucking.
Oh no,
I've been carried by 13-year-olds a few times.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They're amazing.
Oh, you got to think we have GMs that are like 14, right? In StarCraft,
sure.
So.
I mean, a lot less though. CS:GO, there's more better ones. Like we've got Arium and 2 kids or something like that. Yes, but.
Yeah, I'm sure there. Well, probably because StarCraft's not as popular as well.
Yeah, StarCraft's fucking hard. Like.
Yeah, StarCraft's harder, but it's
like harder than high level CS:GO.
Hey,
I don't know if I would say harder. Like, it's a totally different kind of game, I think.
While I have you guys.
Then comparing StarCraft to CS:GO, that's impossible. You can't compare an FPS to...
That's why I'm rolling my eyes. You're trying to. Don't. But for the most part, it's like an enjoyable experience for a 13-year-old kid. Sitting down and shooting people with an AK and yelling at them, faggot and fuck you, is a lot easier and more fun than sitting down and typing out fuck you, and then they just block you instantly and nothing ever happens. Like,
well, you got to get props to them because they're playing CS:GO and not Call of Duty. So,
well, they've migrated, man.
They've evolved a little bit.
Yeah. Well, as it gets more popular, So, there's something I was gonna say. Oh yeah, while I have you guys,
I want Valve for like an April Fool's joke. I want Valve to like release a fucking tribunal for like League of Legends. That would be so fucking funny.
What are the best aim maps that you guys use?
Aim maps?
Let's close the show and then we can both answer to you that we don't use them, and you can go ask somebody that plays CS:GO more seriously.
All right, guys. Thank you all for watching.
What's that even mean?
Thank you all for watching.
The idea of Steven using an aim map. The guy that doesn't buy
game
grades.
map. Oh, you're talking about competitive ranked play. That's where I practice my aim on the streets, dog. I don't fucking play practice maps. Are you serious?
Oh, so you've never like taken some time out on a custom game to learn like spray patterns and shit?
No.
Yeah, that's what warm up is for. I shoot at the wall a few times and then I run around with an op and I camp the fucking door. Actually, the best thing to do is on Dust. If you ever want to start a game off and get people mad, Dust 2 every single time. Hey guys, knife A long, knife A long, knife A long, and get like in a gab and just fucking blasting the dumbasses. They always
pretty
get
good.
so mad. So, okay, good.
All right, Steven, what's going on with you? I'm gonna ask this question.
Well-
Tell
What?
me, are you gonna do Destiny 2 with Legacy of the Void?
I probably will. It's a lot of work to organize it, but I probably will. Just
Booyaka
because.
Shah.
Now,
Cool.
fucking Lycan, or not Lycan, Rifkin broke even in his league, so that kind of makes me wonder if I could fucking do a partner with him and do Destiny 2 fucking live, man. I don't know. Not to start the hype or anything, 'cause I don't know if I would, but the fact that they broke even on that is, like, pretty impressive. Like, it makes me... like if the StarCraft 2 scene was larger, I would definitely look into doing something like that. Because I think that event, the event that they did, if managed better, could have definitely been profitable. Like such profitable enough that like they would have both come out with like several $1,000s cash pocket or whatever. Like I think that could have been managed better. So
I do want to say this: the event was fun. It was really fucking awesome. Like,
yeah, I heard good things about everybody there that was like there and live and whatnot. I heard really good things.
So aside from that, Jeff, were you about to say something?
No, my fucking Rhaegal just freaked out for 1 second.
Oh, okay. So what else is going on with you, Steven? You doing anything crazy?
No, I'm a Minecraft professional player now, or
That's right.
full-time player, not professional, but.
So what are you doing? Are you just building like monuments and shit, or are you?
I'm trying to get some kind of like weekly deathmatch thing set up that would like emulate the experience that I had in DayZ to some extent, while also being, I guess, in Minecraft since DayZ is shit now, so more or less. It's not like I'm not getting into like I'm not gonna like build like a life-size replica of like your mom or some huge thing like that or monument.
I would like that though if we secretly found out on Destiny stream over the last like 4 months he's been building a statue of himself that's like literally a mile high or something. Go to work, my minions. Digging away.
Oh boy.
Steven, you gonna stream after this?
I guess so, yeah.
All right. Jeff, what's going on with you?
I'm actually home for a while, and I'm excited about that. Nothing in October for the most part. I'm going to go see a Seahawks game in Seattle against the Panthers in a couple weekends. So I'll be streaming a bunch. I'm going to do my D&D show at 5 o'clock, which is in 2 hours, the Swan Song. And I'm going to a Warhammer tournament this weekend. So the life of a gamer, man. But I get to be home.
You bringing that Warlord Titan?
No, I'm not. It's not tournament legal.
Oh, so this is a real tournament for this one.
Yeah. This is,
Okay.
I think the problem Jeff said is that like you're allowed so many points in a match, and
Yeah.
that thing exceeds like the total amount of points for like everything, is what you said.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Did you watch or? the
No, I didn't. I
episode?
remember him. He was talking about this.
Okay.
yeah, that's how it's excluded. But there will be games I'll play with friends, and hopefully someday, if anyone makes the fucking mistake to have a tournament, like surely nobody would bring a Warlord Titan. I'll be the guy that brings a Warlord Titan. But yeah, and then just playing StarCraft, and that's it for right now. Enjoy myself. Oh, go see the movie Sicario, everyone. By the way,
Really good.
really fucking good. Like,
Is it a new movie?
yeah, it's about drug cartels and hitmen, but it's done in a gritty, dark, really good way, based loosely on things that do happen, as opposed to like an action flick where everything's blowing up and people are invincible. It's more just fucked up about how bad the drug war situation is specifically. And it's what I like about it, and I think you'd like about it too, Steven, is it's not like it doesn't paint America as the good guys. In fact, if anything, they're kind of the bad guys. But
Why do you think I like that? Do you think I'm like anti-American?
No, you're like anti
Realist.
everything. I think.
I
Just
got
kind of a internet-born
Edgy,
against
euphoric.
the man. Yeah, edgy is a good one.
Tip.
But no, seriously though, what I like about it is it's complicated, which I think is the real answer for most things. There's not good guys and bad guys necessarily.
sure.
It's all perspective and shit. So it's a really good movie. I just highly recommend you see it. And Emily Blunt is my celebrity bae. She's the hottest, the best.
Awesome. Well, cool. They haven't announced BlizzCon talent yet, have they?
No.
Okay. Cool. Well then, guys, that's all from us. Thank you all for tuning in. You can follow me at LycanGTV. These guys have Twitter too, at Steven_Bonnell and at Jeff Robinson, correct?
Or just EG and control, but yeah.
Oh, EG and control. There you go. All right, guys. You guys have a good time.
Wait, are any of you guys Twitter verified?
No,
That's like my dream someday to be Twitter verified.
How many followers do you have to be Twitter verified?
It's not based on followers.
What?
It's based
You literally
on...
just have to be okayed by Twitter. There used to be an application, they took that down, and now it's just if you know somebody at Twitter, basically.
Damn.
like Tasteless is verified.
No, like Richard Lewis is fucking verified.
Yeah, Richard Lewis is
What
verified.
the fuck?
Exactly.
Exactly. Huh.
Richard Lewis follows most people on Twitter, though, so I think actually that's probably... You just followed
Do you ever
the
get
right-
really excited sometimes when you look and you see that like somebody's followed you who has like 600,000 followers, and then you see that they follow like 600,000 people, and you realize that's how they got other followers?
Yeah.
That's Richard Lewis. I'm teasing.
You know, honestly, I've looked at... He does follow a lot of people. Like, I'll see some random person and that follows me, and they're like, oh, and Richard Lewis follows him. And I imagine he just... every time someone says a shitty tweet, he follows them to see if
Oh,
they
so they
might...
can like keep tabs on him to shit on them forever
Oh
or
my
whatever.
God.
Well, not that, like, that they might leak some kind of garbage, or they might make his thing, and it'll trigger him to, like, I need to investigate that. You know what I mean? Just, he follows
Oh,
the...
you have a very optimistic view of why.
So much passion. Regular, you want to say goodbye? No, you don't.
Oh, look at that guy. I was wondering what the fuck was on your shirt. I didn't realize it was Homeboy.
It's a bearded dragon.
Yeah?
This is the worst part about travels. I don't get to take him out very much, so...
Oh.
What I like about him is that he hates everybody else. If Anna tries to pet him or something like that, he fucking... Yeah! If anyone's watching him, he bites at their hands. But when I hold him, he just like...
Why not just get like a cat then? If you, no, I'm just kidding.
I like it. I'll show you. I'll put him up close
looks-
to the camera.
I didn't know that reptiles could actually be affectionate.
They say that they can't, and they probably can't. But he at least
He
accepts
just like
me
knows
on
your
some
smell and stuff enough that he's like
Yeah.
chill. Oh my god, you have like the lizard. You realize that, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Exactly right.
I saw this video of a guy with an iguana, right? And it was like one of the big fucking iguanas. And the thing like ran up to him and like laid down and let him rub his belly. Like,
Well, that's a monitor. I saw that video too. Or maybe you saw an iguana, but yeah, monitors do that.
oh, okay. Oh, so they're saying that like, because I know
I think there is something. Yeah, and I've seen videos of like they are, you know, you can't really domesticate a lizard for the most part. Like they're still feral that way, but I think every living creature to a certain extent has the potential to look at something and be like, "You're not going to hurt me. You provide something. I'm okay with you on some level." You know?
yeah. I used to want to get into falconry, and I still do when I'm old and retired. But I was reading about them, and most birds of prey, they don't have the capacity to feel affection and all that. So it's not like you get a dog and it bonds with you and you guys have this relationship, right?
Yeah.
It's more of a, you feed me, you give me a fucking place
Yeah.
to sleep at night. But there are like 3 species, like red-tailed hawks, for instance, are like actually capable of feeling affection and bonding, kind of like parrots and all that shit. So yeah, some animals can, some animals are just like, I eat, I fuck, I kill
Yeah.
shit. So
And lizards are on the closer end of that spectrum, but I think I've definitely seen. There's a couple videos too where like a monitor's like laying back up on a guy while he's watching TV and he's just petting its belly.
yeah.
And I don't think the lizard's like, "I love you, Todd. Todd, you're the best." I think it's just like, "You're warm, and this feels kind of good to rub my belly, and I know you're not going to hurt me." You know, like I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
But that's something. That's cool.
Yeah. All right, guys. That's going to be it for us. Thank you, Jeff, for showing us your lizard. Thank you, Steven and Jeff, for coming on the show, as always. I'll chat with you guys in a second. There won't be any outro, guys. It's just going to go to black because I don't have the video loaded. So you guys have a good night, and we'll see you next week.